We're back with another episode of the Here's the Deal podcast, the Max Baker Jr. story. And this episode is a special episode. And I'm going to have to turn it over to Jeff because I don't really know any information about this audio other than Jeff said, hey, I emailed you some audio. You should check it out. So
did you check it out?
Not really, a little bit. I saved it for all of us to check out, but we need to know what we're going to be listening to.
All right, so what this is several years back, Vernon Gowdy and I were collecting information to do a Diamond Ballroom book. And during our search through...
Photo book?
To do, you've seen the two books that came out.
I own it.
It's a history of the diamond. It's not just a photo book.
You are in it, Max. How could we talk about the diamond and not talk about you? So anyway, as we were going through
for that page,
as we were going through looking for photos and contracts and dates that bands had played and newspaper clippings and stuff like that, Vernon contacted the Russell family and told them what we were doing, and because Ralph had already passed, and they said that they had something that we might be interested in. And they produced this tape. And what it is Ralph Russell Sr. was going to do an autobiography of his life. And from what I understand, he was sitting around with one of those handheld tape recorders like you would have in the 70s or whatever.
The David Huffin.
This could have been the Ralph Russell Sr. Story podcast.
Well, see?
Dang.
See? And so he starts telling about the Diamond Ballroom.
If only roadcasters were invented back then.
Right. So anyway, that's what this is. So
Jeff, I'm not going to lie. I'd like to pretend that it was a dictaphone machine.
Oh,
do you remember those?
The dictaphones.
Yeah. You ever there's something I could say about all that.
No, you can't.
Okay, so before we get into this audio, let's talk about the Diamond Ballroom a little bit. I mean, obviously, that's where I met you, Jeff, really. I met you at Cain's, but I really got to know you at the Diamond Ballroom. I knew Max a little bit better just from the shows at the other side and stuff like that. So I don't really know the history of the Diamond Ballroom. Was that building originally built to be a ballroom?
Yes.
Okay. Was it?
Which he's gonna tell about in this tape that we're gonna listen to.
But was it built to be the Diamond, or was it already an existing club?
No, it was built from the ground up with investors
Ballroom.
to be the Diamond Ballroom.
And the Diamond Ballroom was the first name it's ever been given?
Yes. Now there was the corporation changed names several times during the 70s and 80s. There was it was the Diamond Entertainment Center. It was the Diamond Investment. I mean, there were several different corporate names that anyone who knows corporations know that sometimes you change names for different reasons or whatever. So the corporation name changed, but it's always been the Diamond Ballroom. And here again, Ralph Russell Sr. will tell the story.
Okay, so
and he was a lawyer in town, so he wasn't.
That was my other question: is what did he do before this?
He was an attorney, but he also did a lot of things. I'm not sure what all he did, but this is one of the things that he gave some legal advice and
how long did he operate the Diamond Ballroom?
He operated the ballroom the ballroom opened in November of 1964, and
when did the Beatles play on Ed Sullivan?
They played February 8th, 1964.
So 10 months later or 9 months later, the Diamond Ballroom opens on Eastern there in South Oklahoma City.
As a direct result.
Exactly.
Well, it wasn't rock and roll. It was country.
Well,
Josh was being facetious. He wasn't being serious. At what year was Crossroads Mall built?
Oh, that was like in the early 70s.
Okay, what about I-35 and I-240?
240 did not go through there at that time. It was Southwest 74th.
Fourth, yes.
There used to be a big billboard out there on Southwest 74th that said, "Turn here to go to the Diamond Ballroom" or whatever.
On Eastern.
There was
That's wild because my whole life I know of 240.
Yeah, I
it-
think Crossroads
it
was
wasn't there.
73, 74 maybe.
somewhere right around
Okay,
there.
so this opens up November of '64, Diamond Ballroom, and then Ralph Russell Sr. runs it until roughly.
He turned it over to his son shortly after we started doing shows there. When was that? That'd been like 90. It was
if you look at Robin and Power Lords, they were 86, 87.
right.
But if you look at what we were doing, we were more like in the 90s.
Correct.
Maybe some late 80s, 88, 89.
So Ralph Sr. ran it. Ralph Jr. Was working under his dad, and they were doing it kind of together as a family business. I think Doris, Ralph Sr.'s wife, kept the books, and I think they had other corporations besides just the Diamond Ballroom. But then when Sr. retired, he like kept a garden out back. So he had a reason to go up there every day and check to make
Mill
sure,
around.
Yeah, because it was still his baby, and then Ralph Russell ran it up until 2000. Ralph Russell Jr. ran it up till 2000. What was it? 9? Was it 8 or 9?
The reason why he had that garden back there is because he could go and see how it grew money, because it was,
Hang on just a second. Turn the noise gate down. Because it's clipping Max off. Okay. All right. So I never met Ralph Russell Sr. I only met
He was a salty old guy.
his son. was
Say
was
the
he
least.
as salty as his son?
His son got it from somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, clearly.
Well, they always say, if you look at somebody's dad, chances are you're going to be like that, and I'm a prime example.
Man, I hope that's not the case. 'Cause my dad was a piece of shit.
Well, Jay,
You can speak for yourself, but I know for me, I'm glad to be a product of my dad.
Well, you're lucky.
I'm proud to be a product of my dad.
Yep.
You're also lucky.
I am.
My first experience with Junior, I had just moved to Oklahoma City, and I was working for another radio station. And back in those days, radio stations spent, I don't know, 15, 20 grand a year on banners. And
Roll-offs.
essentially, they were trash bag material
Right.
that was white with ink on them. But
On
you
a
could either
big roll.
or
On
you
a
could
big
either
roll.
tie them or
Right.
you had to duct tape them.
Well, and you couldn't tie them really because there was no grommets. They were literally trash bag material plastic, and they were like 36 inches or 42 inches tall.
Rolled up on a big
And
tube.
it was on a big tube on a roll, and they were done with plate printing. That's why it was so expensive, is you had to pay for your logo to be etched into this metal plate to print on this plastic over and over and over again, and it would just roll up on these tubes. And each roll of those banners was like 2,000 feet maybe, and they were like $3 or $4 grand a piece. Now, digital printing, they can print directly on it, and it's much cheaper. You don't
Right.
have to pay for the plates. But back then, to get, and the minimum you could order was 5 rolls at a time. So you're
Right.
dropping 10 G's at one time
Right.
for one radio station, and you're literally
Yeah, but like back
But
then,
you need them for those
everybody
live
was-
remotes.
Everybody was rolling. I mean, he probably had an advertising budget on the radio that wouldn't quit.
and you're cutting. You're cutting these banners off and you're taping them up at every concert, every live broadcast. But back then it was the Wild West. There were no rules like there are now. As a radio station, it was first to show up, got the best real estate.
Right.
And that meant
that meant parking where they could park their
outside
van
and inside.
and
I
first
seen it.
banner placement.
But I've seen it before where it kind of got violent.
Yeah,
I've seen it
dude.
get way out of hand.
I was a
because
part
they
of
would
some
come
of that.
rip them down and put theirs up, and you'd come
Yeah.
back thinking you had a great day, and you got all this stuff scattered. You're ready to go to war.
That's a way for me to come out swinging. I'll tell
Right.
you that. So I hung these banners up, and the first thing that Ralph says to me is he's sitting at the end of the bar at the Diamond with his Pall Malls and that ash.
Cigarette.
That ash is like a mile long.
Did he have a top hat on?
cowboy hat, big one?
And the ashtray in front of him was
Right-
full.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, overflowing. And he hadn't moved, but he had yelled orders the whole time at people. And when he said, "You do this," whoever was working did it. They no flinching, no talk back, nothing. They effing did it.
No coke to the bands or work.
No, nobody
No
rode.
soft drinks.
Nobody rode for free, bro.
Yeah,
So
and you didn't want to ask to borrow anything. You don't ask to borrow a ladder or a
no.
or
If you asked the bar, you were open to abuse.
Because my first interaction with him is walking up, introducing myself, and he says, "Don't be asking me for no tape. I hope you came prepared." And I said, "Yes, sir. I came prepared. I just wanted to introduce myself and say nice to meet you and thanks for letting us be out here." And he's like, "Well, make sure you take all that shit
with
down
you
and take
at the
it
end
with
of the
you
night."
at the end of the night." Like,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
And so I hang banners everywhere you can. And back then, now there's metal doors all the way across the front. And I think
Right.
it's like 6 or 8 doors
Right.
that go across.
There's 5.
Whatever. Well, back
Whatever.
then, there was two doors in the middle.
2 glass doors
and
and
then
2 glass-
windows on each
Yep,
side.
yep,
and
that's
the
right.
windows were fairly large, and they were big enough that I could hang banners in those windows. And so I would hang them on the inside facing the outside.
Because they had curtains over the window, so
Yeah.
you couldn't look in.
And people said, this guy says, hey, he's like, "I really want that banner. Can I have that banner?" I was like, "Absolutely." At the end of the night, when the show's over, just
You can take it
just
down.
grab that banner, roll it up, take it with you. And he's like, "Okay." So I tore down every single banner except for that one.
Uh-oh.
And I left. I left the show early.
Right?
So Monday morning.
And you're just sure that kid got that banner out of that window, aren't you?
Yeah, this is like probably my second time at the Diamond Ballroom.
Did you get a call on Monday morning?
I didn't get a call. I got buzzed in my office from my general manager who says, "Come to my office right now." Doesn't say any reason why, nothing. So I go down to his office and he says, "Who the fuck is Ralph Russell and why is he calling and leaving me angry voicemails on my cell phone, on my office phone?"
And let me guess, he wanted you to come down there personally and take that
Right.
off that window because you said you were going to have it gone, right?
Absolutely, Jeff. You've met the man. I can tell right now that you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. I've met
Both
him.
of us sitting at this table not only met him, but, his way of thinking has been embedded into our head and lives.
So at this point, it's 8:30 a.m. on Monday morning, and I hop in the
And your
van,
happy little butt was headed down to the Diamond, wasn't
right
it?
to the Diamond, man.
And where he met you there,
He was there waiting.
of course he was.
yeah,
Waiting
because
on
he
me.
was the only one that had the key.
And he had a speech prepared for you, too.
I got my ass ripped
sure did.
for
Yeah.
a good
Make him
45 minutes.
Making me come down on the Monday to open that door.
I thought for
you.
sure I was going to be signing over my paycheck right then to him for the inconvenience that
Was
I
he
caused
just-
him.
Wasn't that worse than any trip to the principal's office you ever had?
Dude, I've gotten 20 swats from a former NFL player turned principal before, and it didn't even compare to the lashing I got from
No,
Ralph.
because this was the real world, and here's the thing. You knew that was the place to be, so you
And
were
I was
definitely going to want to
brand
come.
new. I was
you,
brand
you,
new
You were
in
definitely
Oklahoma
gonna want to
City.
come back.
Yeah, I was
You don't
like,
want to get banned on your one and
I
done.
was like, I got to do whatever I got to do to make sure this dude is happy. So there I am, and I am fully prepared. And mind you, I couldn't touch a
He thought he could make Ralph happy. That's funny.
I couldn't touch a damn thing until I let him speak his piece for 45 minutes.
You me tell you something even better. How about when you put all your money on the line, thinking you had a winner, and he's sitting over there in that bar, drinking, smoking with that pound mal, like you said, way far out in his hat, and you're walking by, and it's getting closer to the end of the night, and you know you're not going to make it. you know you're going to owe. You don't have the money to cover it. And you know what? And you know that he's going to be the last one you're going to talk to. And it's like, there were times when he wanted to, but the cool thing about having that situation was he would say, well, I can't ban you or kick you out because I got to get my money back from you some way.
Yep.
So what we'll do is and he'd cut a deal.
Work out a payment plan.
Work out a payment plan. You know what, though? But it also taught me that, win, lose, or draw, you pay your bills.
You're going to pay your bills. Exactly.
And guess what? There were times, but then again, too, it was that line of credit. I could walk in there and I didn't have to give up nothing. All I had to do was tell him what I were going to do. And there were times he could sit at that table and he could say, so how many did you have walk through the door tonight? I say, well, and we did 450. He said, that's about right. I figured you'd be in between, I figured you were going to have 500. That's pretty close.
And he could get where he could call
Dude,
how many.
Spot on. Like damn near spot on.
And the thing was he learned genres of music that he didn't know anything about, I mean, to think that he would know, about Pantera or Zombie
Right.
or some of the other ones, Pimpedelic,
Yeah.
some of the things, and he loved Dale Watson,
and the weirdest thing would happen, like with Pimpedelic, man. I like that band. I didn't know that was
Exactly.
David Allan Coe's nephew.
I think
And he dug Pantera.
I think I've only seen him get like real excited like about a band one time that it was completely out of the norm that I was like, what the fuck? Like,
Well, here's what I know. He never asked for autographs. He never asked for anything. But there's only 2 autographs that I ever had to get for the dude.
I know what they are. Both those pictures are still hanging
And they're
in the
still
diamond
in the
too.
thing. Well, I had to get 2. One for the Diamond Ballroom and one for him. One was Hank Williams III when first time we did him at the Diamond. And the other one was Rob Halford when he played my metal bash.
And that picture's hanging up on on stage. What is it? Stage left, top row.
Yeah.
The end picture.
Listen.
And then the Pimpedelic
Yeah.
when you got signed for him is over on the other side
And
of the
then there's a
stage.
ton of them that me and you both got signed for him while working. He always got a copy of them. But the coolest thing about the Diamond Ballroom for me, before we go into the story, is, that wall that has all those pictures on it. There's a picture on there that has little Maxie Baker.
There is.
I'm on
What's his
that
name? His
wall.
name is David something Jr. I can't
Right
remember.
there. But these people,
David Williams or
these
something Jr. or
these
something
people
like
that know me, that have known me for years, that are very dear to me, friends or no
he looks
friends,
just like you.
They decided that they were going to take that guy's name off and put little Maxie Baker on there, and they put it on there, So I've been able to go up to people and show them, hey, man, I mean, it kind of looks like me when I was fat and had a mullet.
So there's another picture in there that looks just like Zach Higgins.
Right.
And it's a girl, but if you cover up her hair, you're like, my God, that'd be Zach Higgins' mom, wouldn't it? Look just like him. Anyway.
So to wrap this up with Ralph Jr.
Yeah.
I get out there, I get my verbal abuse for not following instructions and doing what I said I was going to do. And so then I go out to the van and I get the Windex and the rubbing alcohol and the roll of paper towels.
Oh, to get the tape off?
And I've got razor blades and I've got everything I need. And I've got the kit down there. And as soon as I set it all down, he says, well, you let that sit in the sun all weekend so that ink baked onto my window. How you plan on getting that off? and I opened
You
up.
didn't have anything in your kit, did
I
you?
opened up my kit and I pulled out my razor blade and I was like, this right here, sir. And I just went
Oh, wow.
meticulously for 3 hours. Those windows gleamed at the end of that. And he was like, don't do it again.
And you didn't, did
No
you?
way,
No.
man. No way. So if Ralph Sr. was anything like
He
Ralph
was
Jr.,
worse.
He was worse.
He was worse.
man.
And he was like old school.
Yeah.
Him and the guy that had the little diamond that they sold the little diamond to up on the hill, Ron Brockaway. Those two were crazy.
Okay, so what was the telegrams that you sent me that was from Willie Nelson's agent?
Oh,
Oh, to play for.
so
There was a verbal
there
agreement.
was a verbal agreement that Willie
would play a
would
show
play.
at the Diamond.
And then so
They send
what was
the
it? So
contract.
they send the contract and
It
it's
says-
for a different amount of money.
And it said there was no marketing.
Correct. And so yeah, I'll have to look all that back up.
There was no marketing, and so they sent the contract back, and Willie said, "I'll play for a flat rate of this amount and no back end."
And Senior said no.
And Senior said no. He said, "No, you'll play for this." And they said, "Well, if there's no marketing, we won't play for that." And he said, "Well, we have a verbal agreement
So I'll take you to court because he was an attorney.
Yep.
And I'll sue you.
for breach of contract." And
And
then
so
it was
they
like
said,
2 weeks or
okay.
a month out. He gets a telegram that says, "We regret to inform you that artist Willie Nelson will not be
He's
performing on this
sick.
date. That he has fallen ill."
He's fallen ill. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird how how the attorney just thought he had it, and then Willie got sick.
Sick.
And
listen.
that old man was a shrewd businessman. See, Johnny Cash wanted to play there, and it seems like it was going to cost something like $2,500 or $2,000 or something
more
like
than the guy wanted to pay. But,
and
and
he's like, "There's no way I'm paying that man that kind of money." The highest person he ever played, the most he ever paid anyone was Frank Sinatra Jr., and I think that was like $2,500.
Wow.
Yeah, but here's the flip to that. When he lost Johnny Cash and when he lost things like that, they would just head downtown
Oh, they would.
to the farmers market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at that time, that place was still going on, but before the Diamond hit, I would say 60s up to the possibly the 70s, nothing went past the farmers.
Well, and see, and Ralph Senior was really into what was going on in the politics of Oklahoma City and stuff like that. And so when liquor by the drink was an issue, or 18 to enter, they were the first ones that really challenged the 18
all
to enter,
ages.
21 to drink.
They challenged it with all ages, and they had and rather than having was liquor by the drink, they had setups. You
Right.
could that
You joined the club.
You could buy a.
You
There was a
Bring your own-
Diamond Ballroom Club that you could
Yeah.
actually join, and they
Bring
had the
your-
little.
you had
your
to
own
you had to
bottle.
get a club card, just like they do with the Wet and Dry County in Texas. You had to get a club card. Once you had a club card, then you were able to bring your alcohol in where they put your name on it, and then you bought the setup.
Or they would go to the liquor store and buy all the liquor, and they had these peel off names that have everybody's name that's in the club, and they just put a name on the bottle.
Right.
So you didn't
So they
have
could
to
pour
actually
from anybody.
because it was still against the law to transport open bottles, but that way they could buy, and technically any bottle it had to have someone's name on it, so they would just put a name on each bottle.
And so this interview that Vernon sent to you is Ralph Russell Sr.?
Correct.
Okay. So we're going to play this audio now.
About that, just after we'd converted it, it'd been going about a year. A fellow came in my office, and he'd been recommended by another person that I had represented in a wheel balancing device. Recommended me as an attorney. He said he got kicked out the Western Air Ballroom.
Okay. Where was the Western Air Ballroom?
Okay, it was a couple
South,
miles.
It was on Center
over.
Road.
So what's that? How many miles is
Sooner
that from
Road
Eastern?
Is you Eastern Sunny Lane Sooner.
So it's like 3 miles over
three,
and another
3
mile,
miles
so,
over,
and a mile down. So like
Eastern Bryant Sunny Lane Sooner.
it's like 4 or 5 miles away
Okay. Okay.
from where the Diamond is now.
He wanted to form a ballroom, wanted to build a ballroom. Well, I got to talk to him, found out that he and 2 other guys were going to do this. And they were going to put up some money themselves, go borrow some money, and build a ballroom that everybody could be proud of in Oklahoma. The truth of the matter is, found out later, name was Perry Jones. He got kicked out of the Western Air for stealing money out of the cash register. So it seems that his partner, Bill, out there, they had a deal where Bill handled the concessions, Perry handled the door. Perry wasn't enough for Perry, so he reached over and got some guys had the cash register. So anyway, he came to me. He didn't come to me to form the ballroom. He came to me about seeing what he could do to keep that fellow that fired him from using his band and his band name, which was the Western Air. Western Air band. And I said, well, legally you'd have a hard time on it, something like that.
So
That's
hold on.
an act of vengeance anyway. You
So
never gain
Perry
anything.
Jones,
Now,
pause this for a
vengeance.
second. Perry Jones, he had this band over at the Western Air Ballroom, and he got fired, but they wanted to keep the band on and keep using the band,
But not him.
But not him.
Because he
Okay.
And
stole.
so that's what he originally went to Ralph Russell Sr. for, is because he didn't want that man that had fired him for stealing to steal his band. Right. So that's how this all got started.
Well, I hate to break it to you, Perry Jones, but money talks, and the guy that
Well,
has the bar is going to continue to pay
it's-
the band if you
it's-
go. That's
it's-
what's happening.
It's more like this, Perry. You take your hand and put it in the till, and you get caught. Then the whole game changes.
Well, the band probably doesn't want to stay with you after you've been caught
correct.
stealing.
And then the other part of it is, you know what? It was his band. He was probably getting a little booking fee, but it's like this.
He was the leader of the band.
Oh, he was.
Oh yeah.
Was he in the band?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
From what I understand, yeah. Because then he goes, well, anyway, let the story go on. It'll tell what happens to Perry.
There, Western Air band. I said, well, legally you'd have a hard time on it, something like that. That's an act of vengeance anyway. You never gain anything. Now, vengeance. Well, asked him what he's going to do, and he told me he and two other fellows think about building this ballroom. And I said, well, you need a fourth person. And he said, yeah. And I said, well, I don't mind joining in. I'll furnish the legal services free and
I'll throw
put
in
in my
legal
share of
services
the
free.
money. If they can make any money at it.
he's
He
sweetening
said, oh,
the
yeah,
pot,
I think
isn't
we
he?
can make some money at it. Well, I didn't know his personality at that time. So this was a real ride, this organizing this ballroom and all that went to it. It was a real ride, and it was made Doris and I a lot of money doing it. When he started in, this start was starting in with him was in '64. So I put up my 10,000 and
Okay, 4 investors,
Right?
10,000.
$10,000 apiece.
Yeah. And they were buying the land. I think they were buying. I think at the
land,
time they
the
were buying
building?
like 13 or 15 acres of land, and they were going to build the building.
With 40 grand.
It was 1964.
Now,
Yeah.
was this land? Was it around other like used land, or was it?
No, it
was
was-
this
No,
section?
that-
Was
the
this in the middle
land-
of nowhere?
the
Okay,
land
okay, hold on.
was this
hold
country
on, hold
area
on,
or
hold
city?
on.
Is what I'm asking.
Hold on. There was nothing out there.
Okay.
Nothing. 240 wasn't there.
Okay.
None of that.
They were buying grass pretty much.
Okay,
Gotcha.
so the Google images that you showed me first, the Google Earth images, Jeff, from the Diamond Ballroom offices, you zoomed in and you said this was used as a pipe yard, and you zoomed in on all this stuff, and there was all that concrete and those tires, semi tires in that concrete and all that back there. Okay, so was that there when they bought this?
No, okay, so no, because I went back. I found because Google Earth only goes back so far.
Right.
So here's what I found. I found historical aerial photos
Okay.
that were taken over the place
In what year?
that go back to, I think it goes back to like the 40s or 50s,
Oh shit!
something like
so
that.
like
so
So
to where,
before it even
so when there was
happened.
nothing there.
Yeah.
wow.
There was nothing there.
I don't even think there was a train part there, was there?
So what year did the train go in? 50s?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at all
Yeah.
of it because it's not like there's stuff for every year.
Right.
So like
It's
they,
every
they might take a picture in 50, they might take an aerial shot in
At 40.
54 and then the next one might not be
64.
taken until 61. Then they might take one 64, 65 and then not another one till 70. I mean, it's real erratic.
Sporadic.
It's also because it's also right around the Air Force base.
Ah.
So a lot of this stuff they won't show, but it does show where there are some photos of that land, and there was nothing there, nothing at all.
No. I told him, I said, well, I think I'll have to borrow $10,000. I'll go see if the bank will give me 10 to do this on. He said, all right. The deal was we were supposed to raise 40,000, and then the bank would loan us the money to buy the land and build the ballroom there on Southeastern. They had about 7 acres out there.
So it's 10%.
Yep.
So they're only buying 7
So-
acres at first.
I raised my 10,000. I think I went to the bank, borrowed it. I'm not sure. Then they did the legal work for them. They bought this land there on Southeastern. They started building in July of '64 when they started building it, and the construction of it was completed around November. Well, actually, November the 21st was the first opening date.
November 21st.
There was,
64.
well, I better stop. It's a good thing I didn't know these people in the business. I probably never would have got into it. So you get into a lot of things through ignorance that turn out all right.
You wouldn't have got
Station
into
of the
it.
ballroom. There was Lim Slater, who was in the sort of the construction business. Well, he dug out ditches and built gutters and that sort of thing. He and his brother. And a guy named George Schaffner, who works out Tingersville, and Perry Jones, who
Stole from the
was a
Western Air.
musician and a used car salesman.
Used car salesman.
Also,
He was a what?
sometime
Used car
attorney
salesman.
and quote, well, he dug out ditches and built gutters and that sort of thing. He and his brother. And a guy named George Schaffner, who works out Tingersville, and Perry Jones, who was a musician and a used car salesman, and Ralph Russell, a sometime attorney and quote entrepreneur, close quote.
His what?
So we
Entrepreneur.
raised the money,
Entrepreneur.
the 40,000.
He said third person?
He said attorney,
Entrepreneur,
entrepreneur.
quote unquote.
Yeah.
Oh, just by his calmness, you
My
can tell
name's
he's getting
George
ready to do something
Schaffner.
devious.
Who works out Tingersville, time attorney and quote entrepreneur, close quote.
Close quotes.
So we raised the money, the 40,000 among us, each 10,000 apiece. Each one older for us.
Pause it real
And we
quick.
borrowed.
I just did the inflation calculation on it. It's about 50,000 apiece. It's just under 400,000 for 40 back in 1964.
It was what now?
So $40,000 in 1964.
The equivalent
It's about $390,000.
Wow.
is what that would be
So
today
it'd be
in
like $1 million
2023.
to build that building.
Well, it was about $4 million for their total loan. If that was 10% of their total loan, it was about $4 million.
Wow.
total,
in 2023.
including their 10%.
So there's value there.
Yeah.
I think $60,000. Bought the land,
Hold on, Miranda.
sometime attorney and quote entrepreneur, close quote.
Close quote.
He talks like
So
Max.
I think you
we
just like
raised the
that part,
money,
Jay.
the
Close quote.
40,000 among us, each 10,000 apiece. Each one older for us. And we borrowed, I think $60,000. Bought the land, built the building. 100 feet by 200 feet, 20,000 square feet. Or really 21,000 counting the bathroom and so forth. And we built it. Perry was to run it. And I used to do the legal work. And the other guys did not even take their job connection with it. And we started in.
Hell no, they didn't take a job. Those other two investors, they wanted to be VIP. They wanted free drinks, and they wanted to be behind the red
Well,
rope.
they probably had their own booth.
That's exactly what they wanted. They wanted their own booth. They wanted bottle service, man.
Yeah.
Run it. And I used to do the legal work. And the other guys did not even take their job
Did not even take a
connection with
job.
it. And we started in. I think I'm probably going to continue on telling about the ballroom for a while, and then shift over to the other. We operated this ballroom for about let's see, we opened November the 21st, 1964. By January or February, the three of them got in a big fight. I wasn't involved in it. I was practicing.
Hey, he was not involved in it.
Three of them.
Oh, but he
You got
got.
to remember, he's the lawyer.
But he does get
Rule
involved in
number
it.
one of being a lawyer: cover your own ass.
Right.
He is the impartial.
Yeah.
But he's
He-
gonna get involved.
He's the
Ballroom for about
referee.
Let's see, we opened November the 21st,
Stop that.
1964.
It's like gambling. You know, it's like gambling or betting on something or playing poker. You're watching everybody's hand, and here he is, you know, he holds the lawyer status.
Right.
Three of them got in a big fight because he's going to have to play ref.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you know what? He's plotting who am I keeping?
Right. He's figuring out which ones am I going to buy out so I can make all
You know,
this money.
who am I keeping?
Have you guys actually heard this?
Because he knows the musician doesn't have the capital.
No,
So he's
no.
he's already looking at the other
Right.
two.
Yeah,
Right.
These are
he
the
was always watching for the
These
weak
are the
link.
only
He
two
was
I
the
got to
weak link.
worry about.
Perry Jones was the weak link.
January or February, the three of them got in a big fight. I wasn't involved in it. I was practicing law.
I was practicing law.
It
Practicing
seemed
law.
that they were jealous of the fact that Perry wouldn't give them any recognition as part owners. They went out there on Saturday night. I didn't even go out.
Oh,
out.
so all they had to do was pick up the mic and say, and over here we have the owners, blah blah blah, and everything would have been fine.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't do that.
But you know,
Wow.
you know he didn't want that to happen. He wanted them out.
64.
They got mad because they wasn't being respected.
Right.
As part owners.
They didn't
They went
get
out
a
there on
booth.
Saturday night. I didn't even go law. It seemed that they were jealous of the fact that Perry wouldn't give them any recognition as part owners. They went out there on Saturday night. I didn't even go out. I didn't know what was going on.
He didn't even party.
No,
I didn't even go out.
no.
And that stinking old Perry Jones took all the credit. Dang it.
Damn him.
And they came to me complaining about him that he wasn't taking care of the place and whatnot.
Daddy
Doesn't matter
Russell.
what it was. He wasn't giving them recognition. And I don't know why he didn't. He should have. It was real easy. All he had to do at the beginning of the dance was say, Lim and George are my partners. Glad you're here. And at the end of the evening, he'd say,
Pretty
Lim and
simple.
George and I want you to come back. That's all he had to do to satisfy those guys.
But he wasn't
He
going to do
wouldn't
it.
that.
Stubborn.
Anyway, they
Still
came
exists that way in
complaining, wanted to kick him out.
2023.
You see, each one of us owned a fourth, so the two of them had 50%. I had 25, Perry had 50. They couldn't kick him out without me. Well, I said, well, you tell me who you got this place. Well, we can't tell you right now. I said, listen, I ain't gonna buy any pigs a poke. I ain't gonna vote him out. He's the only one that knows this business, really. Why do that? Well, they had a lot of reasons. But the fact that I wouldn't vote with them, they considered I was against them, which I wasn't. But they forced
If you ain't with us, you're
You're
against
against
us.
us. Oh, he's playing
me
chess now, isn't he?
to be in league with Perry. So I said, well, the only way to settle this, gentlemen, is have a buyer-sell agreement. Buyer-sell agreement is where one person has a right to buy you out, and if he doesn't buy you out at that price, and within a given period of time, you have a right to buy him out at the same price. And
That's the law.
you always let the uh, person that sets the price, the other person has the first choice. That way, you get a fair price set. So when we set the price, see, we all had 10,000 in it, and I'd already seen the appraisal on the property, which was more than what we'd put in it. So I set the price, the buyout price, at 12,500 a piece. In other words, if they
They can make
uh,
2,500.
bought Perry and I out, uh, it would cost them each 12,500. If we bought them out, uh, it cost us 12,500 apiece. Well, the way the buy and sell was drawn, the way it was agreed, they set the price at 12,500. So that automatically gave Perry and I 30 days in which to buy them out. If we did not buy them out that 30 days, then they could buy us out at the end of that 30 days for 12.5 apiece. So they set that price at 12.5 because they knew Perry was broke and they had heard that I'd borrowed my initial 10 to get into the investment. So they figured I didn't have any money or ability
He
to buy
bluffed them.
them out. So that's why they said it so cheap. They figured they would do the eventual buyout.
What they didn't know was
Well, in my commerce, they were right in a lot of respects. Perry didn't have any money. And he wanted to borrow some money from me. I said, no, I don't loan other people money for things like that. I'm not that business. Thanks for that business.
smart move.
We do the eventual buyout. Well, in my commerce, they were right in a lot of respects. Perry didn't have any money. And he wanted to borrow some money from me. I said, no, I don't loan other people money for things like that. I'm not in that business. Banks in that business. So
Banks are in that
what
business.
they didn't figure on, though, in the meantime, I had sold American Reserve Life Insurance Company. Mom and I had sold it for $80,000.
Dun dun
They didn't know that.
dun.
And so I had mucho denario. So anyway,
Mucho
we
denario, he
can't,
says.
and I did it because they'd raised so much hell. I let it run down to the last day, the 30 days. If I didn't exercise or Perry didn't exercise that 30 days, then it would become their right to buy us out. So they thought they was going to get it. So Perry didn't have the money. I said, well, I'll just buy your interest too, Perry, and I'll just buy it both, so it cost me 25,000. I said, I'll just buy it. He said, well, why don't you just loan me the money? I said, no, I'm not
No.
going to
He
do
bought
that
all
at
three?
all.
No, he offered
I'm going
to.
to buy it, I'm going to own it, I'm going to do it. So we went to the bank, Southwestern Bank, there on Southwestern, and to close the transaction. These kind of deals, you always close them in the presence of a bank official. That way people don't get mad, they don't punch each other out, and they don't renege later on what the deal was, because you've got an independent observer there. So we went down to the bank and told them. They came down that Saturday, and I bought both of them out, and
Boom, he owns
for
3/4.
25,000 in Doris and I did. Told Perry that he could manage it. He could work there, and he could manage it, and get the same compensation he'd been getting. And he still had his, Perry still had his fourth interest.
He
But
kept him
that
in there.
ended up, so it is all over with. I bought both of their interests. There's 25% interest each. So I
Right.
ended up 75%
75%.
corporation. Now I'm into an enterprise that I didn't plan on becoming a major shareholder or the major prime mover. I intended to be just a quarter in and do the legal work for it.
You know, he said he didn't come into it, but think about it. He sat there and watched how that bar ran.
He watched
He watched it flourish.
Right.
He watched the guy.
the drama
He
unfold.
watched the drama unfold by it all came down to ego and cockiness as usual and all kinds of business deals you and me have been in.
Exactly.
And
Bro,
you know, this is
if we were to sit down with Ralph Russell Sr. and play a round of poker, he would wax.
Oh,
our
he would
ass,
wipe the
you
floor
know,
with us.
so not only did he have the law on his side, but he had that. Like you said, he was playing poker. He had money.
He also did his homework.
He had money.
Did his homework, his research, held his
Yeah,
cards,
because think about
and
this.
didn't reveal
think
nothing.
Think about this. He bought them out
Gangster.
because he looked at them and really, what did they bring to the table? Money, and they were there every week, probably hobnobbing on free liquor.
Yep.
And wanting to be recognized.
It was all emotional for them.
So he bought them out, and then he became a sole player. But
And
here's
how
the-
do you know how much to
here's
buy
the
him out
thing.
for?
He had to have for 25,000.
But how did he know? How do you know that was the right amount? Because he did his homework and found out that the investment was already worth more than what they had put in there.
And so you know what? He was playing at that time. He was playing, and he didn't want it, but he saw the deal. Then you got to look at too. Well, if I get this and I'm in it and I'm 75%, who's running it? He had the guy running it. The only thing he had to watch out for was him stealing. But if he's stealing from himself.
But like you said, that guy was the only guy that out of the four of them that he even had any knowledge of running. So and he admitted that he wasn't going down there seeing what was going on. So now he's going to have to get more actively involved.
Correct.
Now he's up his game to 75%.
But here's the thing, though, it all became real. You know, when he put his money in, it was a whim. But then when you've seen it working,
I think he really wanted to get more of the legal money off of doing the legal stuff for him. And if the thing turned a profit, hey, you know,
here's the
he get a little
thing:
money.
he invested. The deal became. He put a little work into it, and now we're off and running. It's Ralph Russell's.
Dividend on the money and this and that. Yeah, I never intended to be the prime mover. That's what I am. Well, after they left, after I bought them out, then I started having my problems with Perry.
You don't say.
It was mostly a result of his ego. No criticism of it, because all musicians have it.
Okay, hold on a second. So I want to tell you something here. So when I was researching stuff for the book, I found out that Ralph Russell Sr. actually started a like a booking agency for Perry Jones, and because they had a band called the Diamondaires, and so he was actually contacting different ballrooms and different hotels and putting Perry Jones and the Diamondaires in other venues to play.
Making
So
10%.
so he exactly. So he started watch. He was really watching what all was going
just
on.
said is Ralph Russell Sr. essentially invented the 360 record deal.
Well,
In a
well,
way, you know,
well, I mean,
think about
yeah.
it.
It may not have been merchandise, but if he's getting a portion of hustling, because back then
Well,
there
but,
were house bands.
but think about
that's what they
right.
were.
They would come in and play for a week.
Or that was the band, like
For a month,
yeah.
or
But see,
forever.
or a year.
See,
whatever.
he ended up growing the brand to where there was eventually a Diamond TV show.
Okay, that was
and-
my next question.
But
Is
think
when
about
did
think,
the TV
think,
show
think,
start?
about this. Think about this. If you're booking the Diamondaires and they're home of the Diamond Ballroom,
They're the housebound
he's
at the
getting-
Diamond at the
he's,
Diamond
you
Ballroom.
know, then people are now coming from miles around to be part of this ballroom,
Right. It was
like the Canes.
and see or the Cotillion.
Correct.
On practicing law, and I also started doing examination work for the insurance commissioner. That is examining insurance company. Pretty profitable thing. Paid good money. And was also sort of overseeing the ballroom. Well, about 8 years, I guess, something like that, from '64. Woke up one morning and the corporation was broke. And by that I mean it owed more money than it had. And without getting into great details, he was only interested, Perry was only interested in him himself being on the stage. He was not interested in the financial end at all. It was an ego trip for him completely. So I fired him. And when I fired him, Doris and I talked about it. I said, honey, I'll just have to quit this job up here. I said, we got too much investment in that ballroom to let it go. And I said, I'll just quit what I've been doing, practicing, and get in there and restore it.
I'm just going to quit being a lawyer and run a bar.
So what does that tell us? The place had to be making money, or there's something going on. You just don't walk away from a law
Back to
firm.
itself. So I went and put I infused some more money in it. I think I put 35,000 in it. I believe I put. The way that happened, we had built the little diamond up there on Eastern, and we sold it. And with that money and some other money, I think it was about 35,000 I put in there and paid off all the debts. It was about 10 or 15,000 in the hole, and paid that off. And we fired Perry. And Mom,
So what would 15,000 be today?
This isn't 64 though.
No, but
That
what I'm
just
saying
happened,
is,
right?
yeah, the worth. What I'm getting at is $15,000 got him out of debt, scot free.
But that wasn't 1964 that this part has happened.
Yeah,
It was probably 69.
because they'd already built up some
As he
debt.
said, 5 years.
5 years. 123.
So today it would be 123,000. He'd be squared with.
I put in there and paid off all the debts. It was about 10 or 15,000 in the hole, and paid that off.
To be in no man's land.
And we fired Perry. And Mom and I took it over. And Perry went back to his used car business But after a couple of years, I believe it was I
I
fired
think he had
Perry in
Perry Jones
'70.
Motors.
He did.
Let's see, eight, 71 or 72. In a couple of years, he came around and he wanted me to buy him out. His his fourth interest, and so I did. I gave him about over and above what he had put in at around 6 or 7 thousand. He made extra, and I didn't buy him out personally. I used a device, a corporate device. I had the corporation buy him out, and then his stock came in as what we call as lawyers call treasury stock. It belongs to the corporation. It's in their treasury. That way, I didn't
Illegal
have to put
corporate
out any
trading.
money of my own. Use the company money. Well, when Mom and I got a
Seized it
hold,
without spending a penny.
That's exactly what he
That
did.
is ruthless.
God.
Ruthless.
Hey, it was the Wild
belongs
Wild
to the
West.
corporation. It's in their treasury. That way, I didn't have to put out any money of my own. Use the company money.
Use
Well,
that company
when Mom and I
money.
got a hold of the
Company money.
company,
Money.
the ballroom, the operation of it, we started promoting it, improving the land and the whole thing, and it got to making some money. It turns out
Now you're in the
in
70s.
our lifetime,
Hold on.
and it got to making some money. It turns out in our lifetime, I really made more money in chunks, so to speak, uh, out of the Diamond Ballroom than I did anything that I did, including the practice of law. Of course, I
Wow.
could have never acquired it if I had to practice law and I had the insurance company and sold that and everything. But it eventually turned out to be a bonanza for Bobby
Suitcases,
and I.
cash, something that's non-existent
Because
today.
when the urban cowboy thing hit,
Yeah.
Yep.
we had people flying clear out to Eastern wanting to get in every night, every Saturday night. Uh,
It's that big dance
that
floor.
was the heyday. That was the money days, and
It's real, people.
so
It's real.
we operated that and did very well in it. And ballroom proved it gave my daughter and her husband Ray and Fernando a job while they was going to college, part-time job. It gave Ralph Jr. a job and trained him where he later became a manager and a good manager.
Asshole.
Afforded work for my
Now,
half brother at a certain period of his life, Joe Russell, and gave Doris something to do too. Was Doris was participating in all these enterprises with me. Uh, so it proved a real good deal. Later became a principal occupation of Ralph Jr. I turned it over to him in '85,
85.
85.
and
85. That's
he's
when we started
operated
doing
ever since
shows.
and done a wonderful job, a better job than I could have done at that time, in that period of time. And
He hated metal.
so my business life has been a mixture of businesses that I've engaged in and the practice of law. Enjoyed it very much. Had a wonderful time during that period of representing the.
That was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So, when he ran the Diamond Ballroom, he was a very shrewd businessman. So he would cut these deals with the agents where bands when they came and played. They, okay, first of all, they put a
They
radio
were door deals.
a radio station in there, and they had like the window. They had it in the back room. They had a window where it would look out into the ballroom, the double windows, and had all the acoustical tiles and stuff all in the booth. And they had a full a full booth in there, and they could do live broadcast. In fact, the Cat's roots go back to that somehow when I researched it one time. But anyway,
I
so-
think there were times that they came out there in the 80s
Well,
and experimented
back
live.
Then,
but
back then, when you did live remotes, you couldn't do them like we do now, where the setups are really small and the you need a wireless hotspot basically, and you can broadcast studio quality.
But
back
if you had a bar that had a built-in radio station,
right. Back then, you had to have kind of the space.
well,
and the
they even took
equipment.
it further than that. They had a TV station. They had a TV show. There was a Diamond Ballroom TV show. There was simulcast on the radio.
And I know that that information is in Vernon's book.
Correct.
But I
Correct.
don't remember it right offhand when the TV show started.
It was like 68, 69, somewhere right around in there. It only lasted like, I think, a year, maybe 2 years. I've looked everywhere. I can't find any copies.
Now, was that Perry Jones in the Diamond Airs that were on the TV show?
probably so.
Okay, so I don't know if he's gone by then or not. But what Ralph
They
did
carried
was
on, though, didn't
whenever he signed these deals and had the
'Cause
like
didn't-
Willie Nelson
didn't-
come in or Roy Clark or whoever would come there and play, they had to play on the TV show and do an interview. And so what they would do, and a lot of times they would do a 2-performance thing. They would do an early performance and then want them to do a
In between.
like a
Matinee.
interview or whatever in
Yeah.
between, and then they would do the second show, and then they would do live shots from the Diamond Ballroom, and you could actually go out there and be on TV.
That's so far ahead of its time.
Oh yeah,
That concept.
But
TV cameras were massive back
but
then.
in the contracts that the people would sign, whenever he would put in the offer, he would put in there that they had to appear on the show and be a part of the show. There were some people that turned it down and said they refused to be on the show. They wouldn't do that.
Well, they wouldn't play the ballroom.
They wouldn't play the ballroom.
Because here's the thing. There were two sides to every story. He's out there promoting and doing killing, but then you got people that hadn't quite understood that concept yet.
Fucking idiots,
you know,
bro.
and-
like
and-
before the
you know,
internet, before
well,
social
and
media,
then-
and
but-
this
but-
guy's got a
but-
TV show
now
that you
that
can
now that
every
you say
household.
that he was in there in the 60s, I mean, you got to look at you had Judy
Jude and Jody.
They
Well,
had
they-
a TV
and they had-
show from a furniture store.
Exactly.
You know, then you had the scene
And
with
Jude-
Ronnie Kay.
Also, Jude and Jody played out at the Diamond Ballroom.
They were kind of like a house band.
They were out there quite a bit.
I mean, so there was a little scene happening here, and this guy. I mean, listen, if you live in Oklahoma City, if you've lived in Oklahoma City, if you grew up in Oklahoma City, if you went to concerts in Oklahoma City, you probably have been to the Diamond Ballroom.
Sure.
And and what a great history lesson we're doing to where it's 101 business.
So before before we end this episode, we got to play the commercial that was sent.
Well, let me just say this about Ralph Russell Sr., okay? For whatever people want to know, I'm a Mexican. South Side. But in 1965, my grandpa, Fred Quinteros Sr., God rest his soul, a mariachi Mexican performer in the city of Oklahoma City, he was the first Mexican to play the Diamond Ballroom in 1965. Crossed a lot of paths then, I mean, Fats Domino played at the Diamond.
So did Charlie Pride.
And
And there was a big uproar about that because Ralph Russell Sr. was willing to go. I mean, he was on top of the game. People didn't realize that Charlie Pride was black until he played there.
got there.
Until he got there, and then all of a sudden, and Ralph Sr. caught some flack about that. But he also did political watch parties there. He also did. There was a church that was there for a short amount of time because somebody's church burned down. And they would have services
I
there.
mean, Danny Smith went to church there.
Exactly.
I mean, for me, the Quintero family,
They had quinceañeras there for years.
yes, because I put them on.
You know who else played there? Rusty Anderson.
Rusty Anderson, I think he was from Oklahoma. He was one of these.
For almost looking for something fun to do this weekend? For almost 40 years, country music fans have two-stepped and line danced the night away at the legendary Diamond Ballroom
That's
in Oklahoma
2005.
City. This Friday
40
and Saturday
years.
night, catch the live music of OKC's own Rusty Anderson and All Shook Up.
Shakes his father's hand. At the
Get him, Rusty.
graduation day. Yeah, I'll be making plans.
It's Rusty Anderson and All Shook Up. He'll be playing hits off his new CD, The Weatherman, and some old favorites. Doors open at 7:30. Music starts at 9 p.m. Drink specials all night long. Don't miss the live music of
Drink
Rusty
specials.
Anderson and All Shook Up this Friday and Saturday night at the Diamond Ballroom. Take I-240, exit Eastern, then 2 blocks south. Or call
240 was there then.
677-9169 for more info.
Bro, okay.
677-9169.
Y'all give it up for Rusty Anderson, Oklahoma City boy right there.
Okay. So
this is about 20 years ago.
40 years.
This
That's
is
2004, 2005-ish, and he says CD, so clearly. I hope for the love of God that the guy who produced this spot is no longer producing commercials, because that shit was god awful. As a guy who makes concert commercials, I am fucking offended right now. In 2005, that's the garbage somebody paid you to make?
Sir, please
Jesus.
calm
Wait,
down.
that commercial wasn't from the 80s?
No.
No, it wasn't from the 80s.
Good.
Not when he said 40 years. It
Somebody.
was open in
Oh,
60.
yeah, that's
it was
true.
open in 64.
If
Oh,
that was
also,
my
hey.
bar,
Hold on. What would
I-240, 1965.
so?
Wow.
Oh
That's-
wow.
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 All I
So-
know is if that was my bar and the account rep says, we got this banging new commercial for you, here it is.
Yeah,
I
but
would have
back-
said,
but back
you
then-
owe me some money.
But
That is bullshit.
Back then, they were probably spending money on radio, so so much, and you had an aggressive rep like I don't know, what's that guy's name?
You know what? I
Rob Miller.
bet, you know what? I'm betting that was, because Ralph pretty much quit doing shows, and we were bringing stuff in.
Right.
But
was probably one of the
what he did?
ends.
What he did do was a few of those Marlboro music deals. Remember
Correct,
those?
yeah.
And I bet that is part of the Marlboro. Was it Marlboro Country Music
Night.
series or
Country
whatever?
Yeah.
I bet it is part of that.
Here's a question I'd like to ask: did Toby Keith ever play there?
No, I don't think
Did
so.
his band ever play there?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Or was they all just on
I
Fred
think- I think-
Cortez?
I
I think
think-
they were just Chastain boys.
I think so. I think they were Chastains.
Well, and then I think we did.
Fred
we did.
Cortez worked him hard.
We did Toby at In Cahoots.
Yeah, but I mean,
But
for
you
him
mean
being
like back
from
in the
Moore,
day
right
type
down
thing.
the street, I know Alvin Crow and the Pleasant Valley Boys played there.
Alvin Crow did.
Yeah, and
But no, Toby Keith never played there.
Well, that's how we will end this episode of the Here's the Deal podcast.
Quintero family, Diamond Ballroom, 1965.
It's Quintero, just so you know.
The Max Baker Jr. story.
There you have it.